Just sent it. Just sent it. Oh, I'm unmuted. I thought I was muted the whole time. Okay, Hare Krishna, everyone. It's 8 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started. Today's kirtan will be led by Tandavika Prabhu. Prabhu, if you will, please take it away.
Krishna Prabhu, could you be my responder, please?
Sure.
Thank you. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine.
Namaste Saraswati Devam Gauravani Pracharini Devi Sesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Desatarini
Namaste Saraswati Devim Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasachadeshatarine.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Tanya
Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ramo Hare Ramo 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada.
Jaya Jagat Guru Shila Prabhu Pada, Jaya Jagat Guru Shila Prabhu Pada.
Jaya Patita Pavana Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Patita Pavana Srila Prabhupada.
Jaya Patita Pavana Shila Prabhu Pada, Jaya Patita Pavana Shila Prabhu Pada.
Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva.
Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva.
Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Ananda Kodi Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, so Tanavika Prabhu, do you mind being
Yes,
my
Prabhu.
responder for Yashomati Nandan?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Yashomati Nandana Brajabaranagara Gokula Ranjana Gana
Yasomati Nandana Braja Baranagara Gokula Ranjana Kana.
Gopi Paranadana Madana Manohara
Gopi Paranadana Madana Manogara
Kali Adamana Vidana
Kaliya Damana Vidana
Amalaharina Mamiya Vilasa
Amalaharina Mamiya Vilasa
Vipina Purandara Navina Nagara Bada
Vipina Purandara Navina Nagara Vara
Vamsi Vadana Suvasa
Vamsi Vadana Suvasa
Brajajana Palana Surakulana Sana
Braja Janapalana Surakula Nasana
Nanda Godana Rakhavala
Nanda Godana Raguvala
Shiradhavala Vrindavana Natavara
Sri Radhavalava Vrindavana Natabara
Bhakti Vinoda Shaya
Bhakti Vinodashraya.
Translation. Lord Krishna is the beloved son of Mother Yashoda, the transcendental lover in the land of Raja, the delight of Gokul, Kana, a nickname of Krishna, the wealth of the lives of the gopis. He steals the mind of even Cupid and punishes the Kaliya serpent. These pure holy names of Lord Hari are full of sweet nectarian pastimes. Krishna is the Lord of the 12 forests of Raja. He is ever youthful and is the best of lovers. He's always playing on a flute and he's an excellent dresser. Krishna is the protector of the inhabitants of Raja, the destroyer of various demoniac dynasties, the keeper and tender of Nanda Maharaj's cows, the giver of pleasure to the cows, land, and spiritual senses, the husband of the goddess of fortune, the butter thief, and the beautiful coward boy of Nanda Maharaj. Krishna wanders along the banks of the river Yamuna. He stole the garments of the young damsels of Raja who were bathing there. He delights in the mellows of the rasa dance. He is very merciful, the lover and beloved of Srimati Radharani, the great dancer of Vrindavan, the shelter and only refuge of Thakur Bhaktivinoda. Okay, so today we have the great fortune of having the association of His Holiness Hanuman Prashik Maharaj, straight from Radhakund. So Maharaj, if you will, go ahead and unmute yourself and please take it away.
Sir, we are 9 minutes from Radhakund.
So Vrindavan Dham, just 9 minutes away from Radhakund.
Par Kalani. Par Kalani. It is 9 minutes of Lord Brahma. Can we share our screen?
Yes, Maharaj, please try.
Okay. Microsoft Drive, Microsoft PowerPoint, Google, photo, document, web, screen. I guess that's what I want to share. Okay. Okay, our screen is being shared. Can you see the Chaitanya Charitamrita?
Yeah, Maharaj, we can see it.
Okay. Okay. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Hare. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
This is Chaitanya Charit Amrita. Anjalila. The glories of Haridas Thakur. Chapter 3, text 171. And as a little preface, it's describing how Haridas Thakur was going here and there. He was harassed by Ramachandra Khan, who sent a very beautiful young prostitute to try and seduce him, but he seduced her into becoming a Vaishnava. It says Vaishnavi there. One of the few places where it says Vaishnavi, indicating a human being. And then he left the place and went. And then she ended up in I think it was Benapole, which is where Raghunath Das's uncles Hiranya and Govardhan were. They were Majumdar. They were very, very big government officials. And the priest was Balaram Acharya. And then Haridas was very well received there, and they gave him a nice thatched hut. And he took meals at Balaram Acharya's house. He did his bhajan. And so this text says, please repeat, Tahan Yaiche Hoile Haridasera Mahima. Tahan Yaiche Hali Haile Haridasera Mahima Katana. Can you repeat? No? Vyakyana Adbhuta Kata Shuna Bhakta Gana. Tahan Yaiche.
Vyakyana Bhutta Katha Sune Bhakta Gana.
Tahan Yaiche Haila Haridasera Mahima Katana.
Tahana Yeche Haila Haridasera Mahima Kathana.
Vyakyana Adbhuta Kata Shune Bhakta Gana.
Vyakyana Adbhuta Katha Sune Bhakta Gana.
At the residence of Hiranya and Govardhan, discourses took place by which Haridas Thakur was glorified. O devotees of Nashville, Murfreesboro, Radha Barsanga, please listen to that wonderful story. Okay. One day, Balaram Acharya requested Haridas Thakur with great humility to come to the assembly of the Majumdaras, Hiranya and Govardhan. Thus Balaram Acharya went there with Haridas Thakur. Seeing Haridas Thakur, the two brothers immediately stood up and fell at his lotus feet. Then with great respect, they offered him a place to sit. In that assembly, there were many learned scholars, brahmanas, and respectable gentlemen. The two brothers, Hiranya and Govardhan, were also greatly learned. This sounds like our Radhanath Barsangas at 22334. Yeah. What is it? Road. Yeah. Yeah, Murfreesboro. Everyone there began to speak of Haridas Thakur's great qualities as if they had 5 mouths. That's like Lord Shiva. Hearing this, both brothers were extremely happy. It was mentioned in the assembly that Haridas Thakur chanted the holy names of Krishna 300,000 times a day. Thus, all the learned scholars began to discuss the glories of the holy name. And I think that's, what is it? It's 64 plus 64, 264, which is 180 plus 12. It's 192 rounds a day. 192 rounds a day. And when sometimes devotees would ask Prabhupada if they could just do non-bhajan, and Prabhupada would reject it, saying, no, not possible, and this and that. You engage in service with your senses according to your karma and chant on your beads like that. But keep a regular program of practical engagement with your bodily senses. Mind. But other times, some devotees asked, and Prabhupada said, yes, you can do it. Yeah. And he told one devotee, he said, yeah, you can chant. He said, but you cannot chant more than 191 rounds a day. He said, we cannot surpass Haridas Thakur. So there's a limit. You cannot chant more than 191 rounds a day. Mm. And also, it's very nice because, if you know this Christian tradition, one of the two most principal things they have. One is the what's it called? It's called the Nicene Creed, or the Apostles' Creed, or the Credo, and it's a basic statement of what is Christianity. many different branches were growing and dividing, and the Emperor Justin, what's his name? I remember his name now. Justin. Anyway, he became he was Emperor of Rome in the eastern part of it, I think, like that. I remember his name. Anyway, he took up Christianity, and then of course, like Ashoka taking up Buddhism, it was able to be promoted in a very practical sense. Then, with good management sense, So, so to get all these different branches kind of related to each other, he called a council, and I think it was in Nicaea. And of course, he's going to enforce with government authority that people follow these things and so on. So there's some political character to it. Yeah, Constantine, Emperor Constantine. So they came out with a document which was called the Credo, or the Nicene Creed. We believe in one God. Okay, so do we. Father Almighty. Yeah, so do we. Maker of heaven and earth. Okay. And all things, maker of heaven, things all visible and invisible. And his son Jesus Christ, who was born for our men and for our salvation. Then it goes on like that. When many of the things we agree with, we of course we accept that the body is different than this, the soul is different than the body, and they think that the body has to be resurrected at the end of the universe or something like that also, or something, so they don't burn the bodies or eliminate them, have dogs eat them or anything. But many, in the very beginning, the beginning principles, we agree that we believe in one God, Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, by whom all things are created. Okay. Who for us men in our salvation as incarnated as Lord Jesus Christ. Yeah. So the other most prominent shloka or something, the stotra, is the Lord's Prayer. And 2 times they asked Jesus how to pray. When they asked Lord Chaitanya how to pray, he said, chant the Haraye Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Gopal Govindaram Sri Madhusudan. And I think I said morning and evening in your patios with your family, and you can all chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Excuse me. So, Jesus Christ said, he prayed, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Okay. So right in the beginning, first off, this first thing is we're praying to God, who is our Father, the progenitor, who is in heaven. Oh, okay. Hallowed be thy name. So right there, the third phrase, and after that it goes on, is that the holy names are hallowed, venerable, glorifiable. So right from the beginning, this important to the holy name is there also in Christian tradition. So Haridas was chanting 300 times a day. Thus, all the learned scholars began to discuss the glories of the holy name. Some of them said, by chanting the holy name of the Lord, one is freed from the reactions of sinful life. Some said, by chanting the holy name of the Lord, one is free from the reactions of sinful life. Haridas Thakur protested. These 2 benedictions are not the true result of chanting the holy name. How is there 2 benedictions here? Only see one. These two benedictions are not the true result of chanting the holy name. Actually, by chanting the holy name without offenses, one awakens his ecstatic love for the lotus feet of Krishna. Excuse me, I'm gonna. So here's the key. We have to chant without. If we chant with offenses, we still get a result. It's like if we're very very disrespectful of eating properly. We're just eating food in a very, very nonsensical fashion. Then there's a result. There's always a result from eating. This is Prabhupada gives this example. But if we eat properly, with respect for the food, then there's a good effect. So of course the 10 offenses we talk about these, not thinking that demigods are equal to Krishna, not blaspheming, devotees who have dedicated their lives to preaching the glories of the holy name, not to minimize the position of guru. But then it comes down to the point of maintaining material attachments, even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. And so, yeah, the idea comes, and we know we should give something up, but our mind is so strong it makes some arrogant, statement to push this good common sense advice to super soul out of its presence, and it goes on, maintaining material attachments, which is so very variegated. Of course, in the gross sense, it's the four regulative principles. And we maintain illicit sexual relations, taking intoxication, engaging in gambling, which also includes speculative stock market, Prabhupada says. Illicit sex, intoxication, gambling. Yeah, and eating in an improper fashion, which culminates, of course, in killing innocent creatures unnecessarily. Or eating boga. Yeah. So eliminate those, and there's so many subtle things in this sense. Again, in our family, the situation may be that this family members, husband and wife, want to exploit each other for their own particular style of sense gratification, and it becomes a business relationship. Well, I'll gratify your senses if you gratify my senses. Yeah, and this offensive attachment in the subtle sense is there. Yeah. And again, also we become Bhoktaram Yagnatapasham. We may give up, try to exploit our family relationships for enjoyment and trying to control them, for exploitation. But then the third problem is Suhridam Sarvadehinam. I think I'm everybody's best friend. So father may be so attached to his little daughter, thinking, well, I'll take care of you. Or a mother may be attached to her children, same way, I'll take care of you, I'm God. And of course, the example is Maharaj Bharata, who was taking care of the little fawn, the baby deer. Yeah? And so, no, Krishna is everybody's best friend. And that's what people won't be satisfied unless we remind them of that, we connect them to that, and they won't have proper protection. So it's so offensive to try and push ourselves upon our dependent family members. So many subtle offenses. And of course, they slow us down. But the result of chanting with some offenses is that we become purified enough to realize what the other subtle offenses are. By avoiding the gross offenses, then we begin to realize what the subtle offenses are. And then we can go on chanting and praying to have these removed and become purified. Then we go on like that, Or our neighbors are standing there almost 20 continuously every day, some temple or some group, community, some society is having a Bhagavatam glorification or a kirtan. It just goes on continuously here in Radhakund, chanting the holy names. Okay. So he's saying by chanting the holy name without offenses, one awakens his ecstatic love for the lotus feet of Krishna. Awakens it. It's already there. When a person is actually advanced and takes pleasure in chanting the holy name of the Lord, who is very dear to him, he is agitated. He is agitated. When a person is actually advanced and takes pleasure in chanting the holy name of the Lord, who is very dear to him, he is agitated and loudly chants the holy name. He also laughs, ha ha ha, cries, becomes agitated and chants just like a madman, not caring for outsiders. This is a verse he's quoting. And this is the verse that Lord Chaitanya said his spiritual master taught him. I don't know, maybe it's 9. Let's see if we can just touch here and see where it's from. Okay. Yeah, this is 11.240. I think it's with the 9 Yogendras are talking to Maharaj Nimi. And then they say this, and it's, of course, it's a principal verse in our Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition. So if we're actually advanced, then we're manifesting the symptoms of love, the love that's in our heart. Haridas Thakur continued, liberation and extinction of the reactions of sinful life. Liberation and extinction of the reactions of sinful life are two concomitant byproducts of chanting the holy name of the Lord. An example is found in the gleams of morning sunlight. As the rising sun immediately dissipates all the world's darkness, so, which is deep like an ocean, so the holy name of the Lord, if chanted once without offense, dissipates all the reactions of a living being's sinful life. All glories to that holy name of the Lord, which is auspicious for the entire world. So this is what, okay, so he'll explain this now. After reciting this verse, Haridas Thakur said, "O learned scholars, please explain the meaning of this verse." After reciting this verse, Haridas Thakur said, "O learned scholars," Haridas Thakur said, that's strange. He's asking the scholars to explain it, then he explains it. Maybe it's supposed to be, please listen while I explain. Haridas Thakur explained, as the sun begins to rise, even before it is visible, it dissipates the darkness of life. With the first glimpse of sunlight, fear of thieves, ghosts, and demons immediately disappears. And when the sun is actually visible, everything is manifest. And everyone begins performing his religious activities and regulative duties. Similarly, the first hint that offenseless chanting of the Lord's holy name has awakened dissipates the reactions of sinful life immediately. And when one chants the holy name offenselessly, one awakens to service and ecstatic love at the lotus feet of Krishna. Liberation is the insignificant result derived from a glimpse of the awakening of the offenseless chanting of the holy name. Here's a quote. Sukadeva Goswami talking to Maharaj Pariksit, while dying, Jamil chanted the holy name of the Lord, intending to call his son Narayana. Nevertheless, he attained the spiritual world. What then to speak of those who chant the holy name with faith and reverence? Liberation, which is unacceptable for a pure devotee, is always offered by Lord Krishna without difficulty. And here's a quote from another verse. My devotees do not accept salokya, saarsti, sarupya, samipya, or oneness with me, even if I offer these liberation in preference to my service. So we're kind of organizing and we're approaching Krishna's planet so we can get Salokya liberation. And of course, if we get to that planet, like if you get to the United States, you get all the wealth and opulence available. So Saarsti, we get the same wealth as Krishna. Okay, then we actually begin to look like Krishna. Sarupya. Yeah. And then finally we get is a personal association where we're freely passing in the king's house and sitting and talking with him about things. and so on. And finally, Sayuja, where we become one with Krishna. So, but none of these are acceptable to a devotee if there's no opportunity for being a servant of Krishna. At the house of Hiranya and Govardhan, Majumdar, a person named Gopal Chakravarti was officially the chief tax collector. This Gopal Chakravarti lived in Bengal. His duty as chief collector was to collect 1,200,000 coins to deposit in the treasury of the emperor. A lot of money. He had handsome bodily features. He was learned, youthful, but he could not tolerate the statement that simply by glimpsing the awakening of the Lord's holy name, one can attain liberation. This young man, Gopal Chakravarti, became very angry. And so here follows this whole story about how he insulted Haridas Thakur and said, oh, liberation can only be attained by, great study of the scriptures, shastric knowledge, wisdom, austerities, and very high class, difficulties, austerities for a long time, and the sentimental Vaishnava is making everything cheap. And so he said if something about he would cut Haridas Thakur's nose off or something if there was no liberation possible, by the holy names. And Haridas Thakur just kind of smiled and left the discussion, the argument. And then Hiranya and Govardhan then told the guy he had to leave and everything else, and they were terrified and upset by all this. But then sometime after that, Gopal Chakravarti got leprosy, and his beautiful nose went away. And not sure what happened. Maybe then Haridas Thakur forgave him and he was purified or something like that. But this is a kind of extreme example. And there are other places also, where the efficacy of the holy name for liberation for the purpose of serving Krishna. Yeah. And of course, that's why when devotees said, oh, Prabhupada, I just want to, stay in the material world serving you life after life. And Prabhupada laughed and said, that is for Lord Chaitanya. He said, you and I should desire to get out of this nasty place. Yeah. So yeah, we can accept it that we don't like mosquitoes biting us. We don't like cold weather. We don't like, air quality, which is unhealthy or very unhealthy. We don't like so many problems, confronting us in so many ways, social, institutional, political, family. And okay, but as much as we're more purified, then we can see, okay, this is mercy. This is Krishna's kindness to little pushes to get me to become focused on chanting all the time and taking shelter. Of course, one time Prabhupada says, when I say chanting Hare Krishna all the time, that also includes Srimad Bhagavatam and bhajans by the acharyas. Yeah? But it has to be applied in proper proportion, scientifically. So then Prabhupada recommends, a general process, which is starting our day, doing the Brahma Muhurta, being especially focused on this hearing and chanting. Then there's the Garbhastika in front of the deities, recognized representation of Krishna where he's agreed to be very especially present. So we have very, very nice atmosphere in the temple with the deities, association of other people who are in the same idea, clean, mode of goodness atmosphere. Then we chant the Garbhastika, Sangsara Dava, Nalalila Loka, and with a comprehension of the words and so on. And so our intelligence, our mind becomes activated. Yes, I agree with that. I agree with that. Well, that's very difficult. Is that true? Do I understand that properly? And then after that, maybe 20 minutes of kirtan, And when we're chanting, of course, each time we chant, it becomes more and more pushed to chant with feeling, to chant from the heart, to chant with an open throat. So the senses become engaged, and of course, they're engaged in Krishna's service. They're liberated. We have an open throat, which is now connected to the holy names. Our sense of gratification by typing or playing musical instruments or using our fingers and our arms and that kind of fashion is now used in playing the mridanga. So they're liberated. And this way we naturally become liberated, and then it starts to stimulate different deeper aspects of our character. And of course, the different stages of liberation are described: Doshwada, Sadhusanga, Shavana Dasha, Vaharna Dasha. And we actually become serious about looking at these. Oh, okay, that's what's happening. That's where I'm at. And associating with devotees who are discussing the same things, and so many purports from Prabhupada. So we can see our progressive liberation and want more, because we realize, oh, well, if I have this growth, for example, where every night we're reading here, Vrindavan Da Mahimamrita by Prabodhananda Saraswati. And he is intensely focused on, Madhurya Ras, on Krishna and Krishna and Radha and Vrindavan Dham, overwhelmingly. But of course, he includes them, distaste for material sense gratification. He describes it in his own the kinds of attachment are there in a very, very, what's the word? Very, very motivational sense, very purifying. But as you're reading this again and again every night, and you're hearing him saying these things, you realize this man has a different kind of body than we have. This person, his body is just like a piece of silk or something, very, very thin silk covering, very thin. And then it becomes stimulated by all these very subtle different aspects of fragrances and flowers and subtle joking thoughts and words. So we want to be liberated even from Vatsalya Ras, even from attachment of being Krishna's parents and so on. And in the sense of that we want, that Krishna likes this kind of service. Of course, once we go in, we surrender to Madhurya Ras, and we begin to see, okay, our position in enhancing Madhurya Ras maybe Shanta Ras, because Krishna's flute is in Shanta Ras, Krishna's flower garlands are in Shanta Ras, and these are all essential elements, without which Madhurya Ras can't happen. So we surrender to this and trying to and realize that Radhakund is the dearmost location of Krishna and Radha's pastimes. Just like we're giving the example, like there's so many places offer cruises in the Bahamas, and all these very, very wonderful places with very nice beverages and nice weather and all these things there for vacationing, for playing. So Radhakund is like that. It's a place of just so much fun and diversion and different things happening here. And once we accept it, then we say, okay, I'm not supposed to be a gopi. I'm supposed to be a flower garland or a flute. So by chanting like that, then even offensively, if our volition is there, we have to make these choices. And Krishna is helping us, pushing us to make the right choice. Radharani is always, pushing us to surpass the influence of her sister Durga. Durga's trying to come up with so many beautiful things. And of course, some of them may be very gross pleasures when we get free from those, and she's coming up with very subtle kinds of religious pleasures. And Radha is simultaneously trying to, inspire us and being good devotees and doing the right thing for Krishna. That's kind of basically all of our thoughts on this matter. Anybody have any comments or questions then?
Maharaj, you have said that is Harinam Japa sufficient for liberation into pure devotional service? And we just read what Kedar Thakur said. So there's any other way other than Harinam Japa to get pure devotional service?
I think that the 9 processes of devotional service, you can take those up. You can take up hearing, okay. And then you can take up chanting, okay. You can take up smaranam, okay. You can take up deity worship, vandanam, arshanam. So any of those 9 processes can give the result. But Prabhupada said, because it is the Kali Yuga, there must be some kirtanam, some kirtanam. So of course, when you're doing the deity worship, it's recommended in the manual that you have to be chanting along with that. It can't not just moving your hands and doing these things like that, and looking at the aesthetic correctness of the deity's dresses when you're dressing them, but you also have to be engaged in some kirtanam. Mm. So in the age of Kali, I would say Harinama, 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 Harinama Eva Kevala. There's no other way. Yeah. But if the basic 16 rounds are there, then okay, then you can do bhajan, or you can do, so many different kinds of things according to your nature. Yeah.
Thank you, Maharaj. Any other
Okay.
comments or questions from Maharaj?
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisance.
Jai Haribo.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Devotees, Dhanavad, pranams. Hare Krishna, Maharaj. I was just hearing about when you mentioned Shantaras, and I was listening to the class you gave in Vrindavan just a while ago, a month or two ago. I was listening, and you also were mentioning Shantaras for a segment of that class, and I was wondering. You were just mentioning now, Maharaj, that Shantaras has to happen in order for Madhurya Ras to happen. I was wondering, is there maybe more explanation, a little more explanation on Shantaras? I was wondering, I was interested in hearing more.
Yeah. Shantaras is neutrality. And the thing that the very, very beginning level of pure devotional service is realization of Mahavishnu. You may realize Garbhodakshai Vishnu, Kirana, Shirodakshai Vishnu. You're realizing that, okay, the hand of God is everywhere. Doesn't matter what kind of dangerous situation I'm in or anything, the hand of God is always there, touching things and helping me and chastising me and correcting me. So this is like what Paramatma, but it's the Paramatma feature. And different religions and different people talk about this. Gamblers, they talk about professional gamblers. They talk about how there's a certain moral standard you got to keep. If you are successful with the money, you got to go out and share it with others and give poor people, some food and free whiskey, whatever. But you see, yeah, many people are appreciating the Paramatma, and they give it different names and so on. But that's still, there's no possibility of a real reciprocation because it's still ahead of us, away from us. But when you come to Mahavishnu, that's a person. He's the cause of all causes. And then everything is connected to him. He's a person on wherever he is on the causal ocean, on a beautiful bed of Anantasation. But it's just like, Shinga Artik never ends, Govindam Adi Purusha, but it keeps on going and going and going and going. And hallelujah, hallelujah. So Shantaras is just the beginning. It's just appreciation of how great God is. But we're not moved or engaged in offering any service. So Prabhupada says that some acharyas say that Shantaras is not really devotional service. Then he says some other acharyas say that it is. So Prabhupada says, well, whether it is or it isn't, it's the basis of everything else. Detachment from material world, attachment to Krishna. And so Prabhupada says even the gopis, when they start to think about Krishna, they think of his lotus feet. So somebody's microphone's open there. Yeah. So that's the basis. And so the gopis, of course, when they're thinking of Krishna's lotus feet, they're thinking in terms of their loving affection for him and their mood. And somebody else is thinking of something else. But the Dashya Ras includes Shanta Ras. Shakya Ras includes Dashya Ras and Shanta Ras. So in this way, it's the basis of everything else, but other things mature, and again, it manifests in Vrindavan in one way, in terms of flutes and cows and how they're engaged then in the whole process of Madhurya Ras. The flute, of course, is very, very much involved in Krishna's, in a relationship with the cows, his friends, and of course with the gopis. Does that help at all?
Yes. Yes. Thank you very much, Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Kevin Goswami.
No. Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Danvat Pranam. This is Hemlata.
Yes, Hemalata Arcot.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you for a wonderful class. My question is, how do we overcome our conditionings that we are, so much stuck up with? The, even like eating, sleeping, defending. Yeah.
Well, the basic principle is, how do I know? How do I do? That statement includes the basic mistake, the basic false ego, which we're all possessed of. But the basic principle is that we're not the aggressor. Krishna is. Yeah. Krishna is the initiator. Krishna is the teacher. Krishna is the saver. Yeah, but then we have to cooperate and help and stuff and so on. And of course, when we become more advanced, then Mother Yashoda is then, protecting Krishna, but that's a more subtle internal potency. So the basic principle is that Krishna wants us to become free from our conditioning. Krishna wants to enjoy our service. Everybody has a special service to offer. And so the basic principle is that. So Krishna comes, expands himself as the Paramatma. And the Paramatma is running the world. And the world is always giving us different lessons, just banging us on the head and, oh my goodness, or it's giving us some encouragement. And so then we give up, we give up Tamagun, we give up Rajagun, and like that. Different lessons are there always for everybody from the Paramatma. There's always something there, and we have to accept those. So in the lowest condition, it may be ethics and morality. Don't steal, don't lie, go to church on Sunday. Okay. But as you become more purified, then there are, more advanced instructions about how to understand your position. Then at some point we find bona fide acharya like Jesus Christ, Mohammed, Ramanuja, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. And then we begin to listen from them. So our free will is always there. You always have to make the choice to use our free will. We can listen to something on the television or something which is gratifying our ego, or we can sit and listen to a class, which is okay, but it takes some work. But afterwards, we get eternally liberated from our condition, and then we can go up to the next stage. And as we go on up to Bhava Yoga, at the level of Bhava, we already know our relationship with Krishna, but then it's a matter of intensifying it. And so Krishna himself is stimulating us by engaging in different pastimes with us, even while we're in the material body. And that allows us to intensify our love for him. So different levels, different ways, that we're getting freed. It depends on our level. We have to understand that. But always the basic principle is looking for Krishna's mercy. How is that? Does that help?
Yes, Maharaj, it does. But now, I do feel being relieved of the conditioning, but now I feel I'm conditioned more by Shastric regulations. And, if I read that Prabhupada says you need 6 hours of sleep. So then my mind goes, I must get 6 hours of sleep. And gradually we are supposed to reduce it further and further, so that we don't act on the bodily platform. But the mind is stuck up on that. So how do we?
Well, that's the next stage. This is where Upadeshamrita says, Achahara prayasascha niyamagraha. This is one of the impediments, that we take up these yamas and niyamas, these do's and don'ts, but we take them up for the wrong reason. So maybe we're taking them up for the right reason 30% of the time. Maybe the other 70% of the time we're still adjusting it. okay, I will only eat prasadam, but I want very good prasadam. Okay, or whatever it is. Okay, I can sleep this much, I can do that. Yeah, and so again, it's the same thing. Go on applying them the best you can, and then of course if you're reading, of course, and you'll get, Prabhupada talks about things again and again and again and again and again from all these different perspectives and attitudes, and then you see in there, oh yeah, that's the subtle attachment that I have. I have a little bit of daksha in me, I have a little bit of ditthi in me. Yeah, okay. So going on by associating, that's basically all that's required, according to the process. Then we see these subtle attachments and we see the results, and then our intelligence just says, well, I'm going to give it up. I'm going to suffer if I do this, or I won't be able to do what I want to do, which is do something nice for Krishna, that nobody else can do. So Niyamagraha, at a certain point, we don't know how to apply the scriptures correctly, or give them proper priority, or we're distorting them. But that's one natural stage. And the difference between a Madhyamadhikari and Uttamadhikari, one difference is the Madhyamadhikari believes in the process, they're dedicated to it, they're convinced their doubts will be removed gradually. The Uttamadhikari is really, like you're saying, starting to take advantage of the scriptural instructions. But other aspect is they develop their logic, logic. And so they understand they have some scriptural basis, enough. It doesn't have to be 40,000 verses or something. Certain things you understand, but then you're putting them together in the proper proportion, the proper perspective. So it has to be also, like we were saying, developing your intelligent understanding of these things. And that comes just by practice, by association.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you,
good luck.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you.
There are no other question or comments from Maharaj, so I'll thank you, Prabhu, to lead us in sing a prayer.
Okay. Well, thank you all for your association.
Thank you, Maharaj. So
we have
next Friday,
10 more days.
We'll have second part.
Okay, we have 10 more days. 10 more days here in Radhakund. We're packing up after several months.
Then you'll be going to Mumbai?
Yeah, we'll spend 3 days in Mumbai, and then we'll do a tour of, what's it called? Imphal, Silchar, Agartala, around there. And then the 23rd, 4th, 25th, 24th, we leave India, we'll go to Europe. And then of course, time is better, and our connection should be better there. So maybe have a little more association with our Radhanath, our Sangha.
Okay, Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay.
Thank you, Maharaj. Namaste Narasimhaya Dadai Hiranyakashipurvakshaha Silatankanakalayi To Narshingo Parato Narshingo Yato yamitato narshingo Mahe narshingo Hridahe narshingo Narasimhamadin saranam prabhate Tavakara kamalavadi Naka marbuda shringam Talita Hiranyakashipu Tano Bringa Esavadita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hari Jaya Jagadisha Hari Jaya Jagadisha Hari Jaya Narsinghadev, Jaya Narsinghadev, Jaya Narsinghadev, Jaya Narsinghadev, Jaya Pralat Maharaj, Jaya Pralat Maharaj, Jaya Pralat Maharaj, Jaya Pralat Maharaj, Jaya Jagat Guru, Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Patita Pavana Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Patita Pavana Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananda Kudi Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. All glory sisters, Hare Krishna.
That brings end of tonight's program. So let's unmute ourselves. Have a Vaishnava pranam, please. Vancha
Kalpa Trupayasha, Ashupaya, Patitana Pavnebhyo Vaishnavibhyo.
Vaishnavibhyo namo
Hare
namaha.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Hare
Maharaj.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Mm.